So it just occurred to me that I should have probably recorded some of this. So as it turns out, it's most likely just a lock cylinder that's broken, meaning that I can reuse the lock housing. So right now I'm just in the process of pulling the steering wheel so that I can gain access correctly to the lock housing. I might even be able to remove it with everything in place, but it's better to get some stuff out of here. So airbag, in order to remove it, you just turn the steering wheel 90 degrees, you go in from behind, and you use a bent screwdriver, or this is a specialty tool if you want to call it that, to release the airbag. Disconnect the connector, remove the center bolt. I think it's an M12 triple square. Oh yeah, and I guess you realize that I'm at the shop, and so basically all I did in order to start it, this is the reader antenna for the chip that was lying on the ground. All I did was plug it in. Luckily the pins aren't broken, the wiring's not broken. So basically I plugged it back in and was able to get it to sit fairly close to here. Then I held the key right next to it, and I used a long screwdriver to start the car. Once the car ran, it basically reads a chip as soon as you turn the key on. Once it verifies that the chip is correct or that it's matched to the immobilizer, it allows the engine to continue to run. Once it's running, you can basically remove all of this and it'll continue to run. And that's how I drove it down to the shop. The steering wheel usually has factory markings that help with alignment. If it doesn't, just make your own marks, and then you can pull the steering wheel off. When placing the airbag on the ground, place it right side facing up, so that if for whatever reason, if it were to get triggered or go off, it'll explode up. If you put the airbag on its face, then the whole thing will grenade up off of the floor, and you don't want that. But the likelihood of it going off on its own, very, very small. This is the clock spring. You want to make sure that it stays in fairly straight position. And as you can see, I did not disconnect the battery. There's really no need for battery disconnecting. If you want to disconnect it, that's fine. Whatever makes you feel good, feel better, safe, doesn't really matter. I could have gotten at those screws with the steering wheel in place, but again, I like to work with a little bit more room. 4 little Phillips screws in total.
How difficult, you know, the same question every 5 minutes. How difficult, fuck.
There's a locking lever, you got to move that a little bit. And then there's a torque screw down here. If I have the right size, there we go. And there's 2 torque screws for the lever for this mounting pad. Then you just carefully move this aside. At this point, I can insert the release tool and pull the cylinder out. This is where the reader coil connector sits. So let me get my release tool. So all this is a very stiff piece of wire, and you can see it's got a bit of a taper. All I did was take it to the grinder and I slowly tapered it and made it skinny so that it fits into this lock cylinder. You basically insert it my screwdriver. Okay, what you have to do is you have to turn the key on and then turn it to the position where this thing will fit into it to release the lock housing. That's it. And now I can turn the key off again. And because I just cycled the key with the airbag off, it obviously set an airbag code, but once everything is back together, that airbag code will be gone. So this is what remains of the lock housing, or the ignition key lock assembly cylinder. So all this key does is it, sorry if the light's too bright, let me just turn it off. That's too dark. Yeah, that's too dark. So the cylinder sits in the bore. There's a springy retainer, and basically what you do is what the clip does, there's a little tiny hole. I don't know if you can see it. So once you insert that into the hole, it keeps the retainer down, and then you can pull the lock out. Okay, and I also have to replace, you can see here, this is all buggered up. So I'm going to loosen this screw no more than 13 turns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm going to try it. Comes out. This is just a plastic cover that I'm going to transfer over to the new lock assembly. So that's not broken. It's a little marred here, no big deal. So I have a new one here. Let me grab the parts. So I got some new parts here. Nagelneu sagt man auf Deutsch. Nagelneu. Oh, I guess they both come with keys. So this is the one for the door. I'm not going to need these keys. These keys have chips built in, but I don't need those because I don't want to do any type of reprogramming of the immobilizer. I want to use the stock chips that are in the key fobs. Okay, and so this is the new ignition key cylinder set. So all I'm going to do is have this pattern for this ignition lock cut to new keys for this key fob and the other key fob that my mother has. So these keys and those keys I'm not going to need. This one I'm going to leave alone. Once this is cut to this pattern, I can insert this key. The reader coil will read the chip that's in here, which is already in the immobilizer, and I'm going to get this thing recoded to fit these keys, aka this lock cylinder. But because it's going to be cut to this key fob, the original key fobs are going to fit. You can see this, it fits, but it doesn't turn, but it will once it's coded to this. Excellent. Lucky that the housing didn't get damaged, so this should be straightforward. Next update will be with everything back together. Awesome. Hi guys, so as you saw from those two pictures, the new parts are installed, everything's working nicely. The vehicle was up and running again on Thursday. I ordered the parts on Monday or Tuesday, and it took 2 days for those new parts to get to the shop. Had I ordered the both cylinders according to the VIN number, I would have received them coded to the correct key, so that I would not have had to cut new keys. But then I would have also had to wait 2 weeks for those parts to come out of Germany. And since I didn't want to wait that long, my mother needs her car, I ordered them just out of Toronto. They had some in stock back east, so they sent me a door handle cylinder with new set of keys, and they sent me the ignition lock cylinder with the new set of keys. And because I wanted to make life easier for her, not to deal with 2 keys, plus I didn't want to worry about having to code the new chips to the immobilizer, and because those keys were not fob keys, I would have had to have new keys cut anyways. So I had keys cut to the ignition cylinder profile, and then had the new door lock cylinder coded to that, or coded, and then I installed the 2 new cut key fob keys on the key fobs. Boy, this is confusing. I'm sure it sounds confusing. Long story short, over $600. Basically just those 2 parts. The 2 parts alone was $490. And then taking it to the locksmith to have the keys cut and recoded, the door handle cylinder recoded. That was about $200. So I know there's probably places that do it a lot cheaper, and you know, at least that's what my coworker already said. You know, I just deal with stuff as best I can. The main issue was time frame. Everything worked out fairly quickly, so that's what counts. It was money well spent. Next time, I'm definitely going through insurance, though. I think it would have been a $300 deductible. But anyways, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.